Hi friends, again after discussing with preventive therapy, now we'll move on to the reliever therapy. Okay, so this was preventive therapy, mast cell stabilizers, leukotriene antagonist, inhaled corticosteroids, and one more thing which you can add is long acting bronchodilators, or you call it LABA. LABA is long acting beta 2 agonist. Beta 2 is bronchodilator. So long acting beta 2 agonist, why you call preventer? Because when you give long acting beta 2 agonist, not alone, along with inhaled corticosteroids, they have a synergistic combination, and long acting beta 2 agonists along with preventers also behave as preventer, because for long duration of time it will keep the bronchi open. So there are combinations which are coming in the market which are synergistically added and which is known as the fixed dose combinations, FDCs, and these are having inhaled corticosteroid along with beta 2 agonist. Long acting beta 2 agonist. Long acting beta 2 agonists are salmeterol and formoterol. Salmeterol and formoterol. These are long acting beta 2 agonists, and they are responsible for keeping the bronchi dilated for a longer duration of time. Suppose you have taken a reliever at night, short acting beta 2 agonist, and usually asthma usually occurs when the patient is sleeping, fast asleep during the night. So asthma usually occurs when he is fast asleep around 5 hours in the morning. So he has this episode, right? So at that time you need a long acting beta 2 agonist which can keep the bronchi open and help to prevent that episode of asthma which can occur at the 5 hours in the morning, right? So this is about preventers. Now coming on to relievers. Relievers means which relieve the symptoms. Who can tell me what are the symptomatology of asthma whenever the patient comes? Yes. Symptomatology of asthma is starting from allergic rhinitis, atopic dermatitis to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. बच्चा पैदा हुआ, उसको बॉटल फीडिंग शुरू करी गई. बॉटल फीडिंग शुरू करने के बाद द बेबी गेट्स एक्जिमेटस डर्मेटाइटिस. डॉक्टर्स डर्मेटोलॉजिस्ट से इलाज कराया, ठीक हो गया. और बड़ा हुआ, उसको बार बार स्किन लीजन्स होने शुरू हो गए, फिक्स लीजन्स, अर्टिकेरिया, इचिंग रिकरेंट होता रहा फैमिली हिस्ट्री के साथ. दिस इज एटोपिक, मार्चिंग एटोपिक. नाउ एटोपिक मार्च गोज अप टू कि बच्चा सब हमेशा छींकता रहता है, हमेशा इसकी नाक निकलती रहती है, हमेशा ऐसे करता रहता है, नाक के नीचे यहाँ कस्टिंग डेवलप होनी शुरू हो गई है. दिस इज जल्दी इसको जुकाम होता रहता है, जल्दी प्रॉब्लम होने लगती है, और रात में नाक बंद हो जाती है, रात भर सो नहीं पाता. दिस इज एलर्जिक राइनाइटिस. ठीक है. इसी के साथ जैसे मार्च करेगा एलर्जिक राइनाइटिस के साथ, जिस समय पटाखे चलते हैं, दिवाली होती है, या जिस समय मौसम चेंज हो रहा होता है, गर्मी से सर्दी या सर्दी से गर्मी, उसको सर्दीला को उठा रहता है. हर समय खड़खड़ सीने में खड़खड़ होता रहता है, कंजेशन बना रहता है. बच्चा सांस लेता है तो उसके अंदर खड़खड़ाने, बल्बों के खड़खड़ाने की आवाज़ आती है. रात में उठता है तो बहुत खांसी आती है. खांसी बढ़ते उसको ब्रेथलेसनेस होनी शुरू हो गई, डिस्निया हो रहा है। पहले वो बच्चा जब खेलता था तब उसको खांसी आती थी, अब वो खांसी, आई एम टेलिंग यू द स्पेक्ट्रम, आई एम मार्चिंग राइट फ्रॉम एटोपी टू सीओपीडी। बच्चा जैसे जैसे अब खेलना शुरू करता है, खेलने जाता है, ऊपर जीना चढ़ता है तो उसको खांसी आने लगती है। फिर बैठे बैठे भी, हम जब बैठे हुए हैं, रात में सो रहा है तब भी खांसी आने लगती है। उसके बाद बैठे बैठे उसकी सांस फूलने लगती है, बैठे बैठे उसकी सांस फूलने लगती है, जल्दी जल्दी होता है। जीना गाइडलाइंस बनाई गई। जीना गाइडलाइंस में मॉडरेट, माइल्ड, इंटरमीडिएट। माइल्ड इंटरमीडिएट में जब भी मौसम चेंज हो जाता है उसको इंटरमीडिएटली होता रहता है। माइल्ड परसिस्टेंट मतलब थोड़ा थोड़ा उसका हल्का हल्का सर्दीला कोठा बना ही रहता है, थोड़ी थोड़ी खांसी कंजेशन बना ही रहता है। देन माइल्ड परसिस्टेंट, यू कैन रीड इट, यू कैन रीड इन योर क्लिनिकल बुक्स and you can properly classify it, but I am telling you the insight only. Mild persistent के बाद moderate intermittent, बीच बीच में बहुत ज़्यादा उसको खांसी बढ़ जाती है, 1 हफ्ते तक रहती है। माइल्ड में तो खाली 15-20 दिन में एक बार होती है, महीने 2 महीने में एक बार होती है। माइल्ड परसिस्टेंट में हफ्ते में 1-2 बार होने लगती है। मॉडरेट परसिस्टेंट जब बराबर उसको मॉडरेट इंटरमीडिएट जब उसको खांसी होती है तो बहुत दिनों तक लंबा लंबा चलती रहती है, नेबुलाइज कराना पड़ता है तब जाकर ठीक होती है। मॉडरेट परसिस्टेंट जब बराबर उसको खांसी बनी रहती है, खांसी ठीक ही नहीं होती है चाहे जितना भी नेबुलाइज कराए। और सीवियर परसिस्टेंट, दैट इज द स्टेज 6 ऑफ जीना गाइडलाइन, जब परसिस्टेंटली बच्चा बैठे बैठे भी सांस फूलती रहती है और उसकी जो एयरवेज है वो इस तरह से हो जाती है, tortuous airways, and they are filled up with mucus plugs. They are thickened mucosa and filled up with mucus plugs. See the amount of lumen which is left. And circular muscles, they are all constricted. They are all constricted. Thickened mucosa, mucus plugs. See the lumen. ऐसे बच्चा, ऐसा जो पेशेंट होगा, चाहे वो बड़ा होगा चाहे वो बच्चा होगा, वो बैठे बैठे सांस फूलती रहेगी उसकी। दिस इज अ सीवियर परसिस्टेंट अस्थमा। एंड उसी के बीच बीच में ऐसा हो सकता है कि सीवियर एक्यूट अस्थमा भी डेवलप हो जाए। सभी सीवियर एक्यूट अस्थमा जब पेशेंट माइल्ड इंटरमीडिएट है या मॉडरेट इंटरमीडिएट है, लेकिन बीच बीच में एकदम से उसको बहुत तेजी से he develops a severe bout of breathlessness and cough. हो रहा है and he is getting unconscious because carbon dioxide is retention and hypoxemia, he is getting unconscious. This is severe acute asthma और जिसको हम लोग पुराने जमाने में status asthmaticus भी बोलते हैं। status asthmaticus दिस इज अ इम्पॉर्टेंट टर्म जो इमरजेंसी मेडिसिन में हम लोग डील करेंगे। जब हम लोग फाइनल जब लेक्चर खत्म करेंगे तो हम लोग सीवियर एक्यूट अस्थमा का ट्रीटमेंट अपनी मैनुअल्स में पूरा जॉट डाउन करेंगे, उसको लिखेंगे, यू विल गेट मार्क्स ऑन इट। सेंड मी द पीडीएफ आल्सो। ठीक, तो सीवियर एक्यूट अस्थमा इज द acute on chronic episode. It is not a chronic episode, or it is not a China guidelines mild intermittent, mild persistent. It is an acute on chronic episode which develops intermittent. It can develop in any patient. So these और जब ये severe persistent asthma सांस फूलती रहती और old age के साथ साथ this develops, there is a tortuosity in the bronchi. Bronchi become tortuous, they become inflamed persistently thickened, और tortuous bronchi के साथ साथ उसका chest जो है वो barrel shaped हो जाता है। barrel shaped मतलब emphysematous lung हो जाएंगे। जो bronchi होंगे वो ऐसे नहीं रहेंगे, फिर वो ऐसे हो जाएंगे। And alveoli also will also become large, emphysema. It develops emphysema, right? So this is a stage which is known as COPD, where there is enlarged bronchi, emphysematous lung, barrel-shaped chest, and continuously they are bloated. बैठे बैठे पहले पुराने जमाने में हम लोग प्रोफेसर्स पढ़ाया करते थे, एम्फाइसेमा भी दो तरह का होता है, ब्लू ब्लोटर्स एंड पिंक पफर्स. व्हाट आर पिंक पफर्स? पिंक पफर्स आर सिंपल एस्थमा, सिंपल एम्फाइसेमा, जिसमें वो लोग बैरल शेप चेस्ट होता है और देयर इज hemoglobin is totally saturated, saturation is normal, but they are having respiratory distress. Blue bloaters, they are cyanotic. Why cyanotic? Because there is a persistent change in the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery को continuously क्योंकि जब bronchi thicken रह गए, emphysematous lung हो गया, there is increased persistent pulmonary hypertension. There develops pulmonary hypertension. जब pulmonary hypertension develop होगा तो right ventricle को ज़्यादा काम करने का पड़ेगा पुश करने के लिए, तो राइट वेंट्रिकल पुश करने की बजाय देयर इज डेवलपिंग ऑफ साइनोसिस, बिकॉज राइट वेंट्रिकल pushes its blood to some PDAs or some VSDs and it goes from not left to right shunt, it goes from right to left because of pulmonary hypertension. So this is old classification of pink puffers and blue bloaters. So I told you about the march starting from atopy to COPD, emphysema. This is the march usually develops in asthma. You can read in your textbooks a better way how to do it, but this is the usual clinical picture which develops from pediatrics to geriatrics. Okay, so मेडिसिन मुझे बहुत पसंद है, तो मैं मेडिसिन में घुस जाता हूँ, तो मैं भूल जाता हूँ मुझे फार्माकोलॉजी पढ़ानी है. Okay, now coming on to relieve, how to relieve the symptoms. तो हम लोग जब बात करेंगे रिलीफ की, तो सबसे पहला रिलीफ आपके दिमाग में क्या आएगा? आपको किस तरह से रिलीफ पहुंचाना चाहिए? नंबर 1 मैंने आपको बताया था, याद है आपको, म्यूकोजल एडिमा. म्यूकोजल एडिमा हैज डेवलप्ड. अब ये जो म्यूकोजल एडिमा है, अब ये ट्रैकिया है, ये सपोज दिस इज ब्रोंकाई, राइट? एयर इज गोइंग इनसाइड, बट देयर इज नाउ म्यूकोजल एडिमा which is developed. So there is the air is going inside, but now only this amount of air can get inside because of mucosal edema. So you have to cure this edema so that there is a increased passage of air inside and patient can be relieved of this. So how can you cure this asthma mucosal edema? Edema is because of, you have learned from your pathology, that edema is because of inflammation. So you have to give anti-inflammatory drugs. So what anti-inflammatory drug you think of while giving to treat mucosal edema? The most important anti-inflammatory drug which treats mucosal edema is not non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, it is steroids. Steroids is the mainstay of treatment. Steroids is the mainstay of treatment which cures this edema, improves the aeration, it blocks all the inflammatory cascade, it blocks all the inflammatory mediators, and it decreases the inflammation in the mucosa. So mucosal edema is relieved by steroids, but mind you, there is a word of caution in this, that it should be systemic steroid, as inhaled corticosteroids cannot get inside, neither any reliever which can bronchodilate can get inside till this mucosal edema is relieved. So first thing and foremost thing you should remember is that systemic steroid is the mainstay of treatment. Steroids go through the route of blood, cause anti-chemotactic factors, anti-inflammatory effect on the mucosa and decrease the mucosal edema. Then only inhaled corticosteroids and bronchodilators can be effective. So always remember at the bottom line that systemic steroids is the mainstay of treatment for relief and systemic steroids, yes, and inhaled corticosteroid is the mainstay of treatment for prevention. So always remember, whenever a patient comes with severe acute asthma or having mucosal edema, then wheezing is there. Mucosal edema, whenever you see the signs, okay, I have not discussed the signs. What are the signs of when there is severe acute asthma? Number one, respiratory distress. There will be severe respiratory distress. How you will classify severe respiratory distress? In neonatology and pediatrics, we learn Downey's score. There are many scores are there. Downey's score when there is subcostal retractions along with wheeze, audible wheeze. These are all signs of respiratory distress. Accessory muscles working. The sternocleidomastoid muscles working, nasal working. They are all signs of respiratory distress. Right? So whenever you read Hutchison, always get into the habit of reading Hutchison. So whenever you read Hutchison, you can read the signs of respiratory distress. Accessory muscles working, subcostal retractions because of working of diaphragm, intercostal retractions because of working of intercostal muscles. Then suprasternal retractions because of working of the suprasternal muscles. These are all muscles which causes signs of increased respiratory distress. Whenever you keep auscultate the lungs, you will find wheezes like this is audible wheeze, and wheeze which is auscultated on the stethoscope is level 1 or grade 1 wheeze. So wheeze can be classified. Wheeze can be associated with cracks, crackles, which are final cracks in the bronchi. Why cracks are there? When they ask why cracks are there in bronchi, there is no mechanism for cracks, but the fluid which is inspissated inside the dilated airways or the alveoli, it causes crackles. So when there will be lower respiratory blockade, you get more of crackles, and when you get upper respiratory lower bronchial tree blockade, you get wheeze, right? So wheeze, cracks, subcostal retractions, respiratory distress, these are all the signs where you can see that there is a mucosal edema. So you read by mucosal edema by systemic steroids. The steroids are hydrocortisone, which is the drug of choice. Okay, then there can be prednisolone, there can be dexamethasone, which immediately relieves the patient. Within 15 minutes, 20 minutes, the patient feels better because of decrease in the mucosal edema. Right? So systemic steroids, hydrocortisone, prednisolone, dexamethasone is the first thing to do whenever you receive a patient of severe respiratory distress asthma. Okay. Then the second step of treatment is now bronchodilation. This is respiratory mucosa, this is bronchi, this is respiratory mucosa, and these are the muscles which are causing this, and you want to make it like this. See this lumen and see this lumen, right? This is because of bronchoconstriction, intense bronchoconstriction because of circular muscles lining the bronchial airways. So by bronchodilation, always remember beta 2 receptors. They are present on circular muscles. These beta 2 receptors are agonized by giving many drugs which are known as SABA, short acting beta 2 agonist. Short acting beta 2 agonist, right? The most important drug, prototype drug is salbutamol. इसको हम लोग यूएस में एल्ब्यूटेरॉल के नाम से भी जानते हैं। इसमें बहुत यूज हो रहा होगा इसका रेस्पिरेटरी डिस्ट्रेस सिंड्रोम में ARDS और सारी प्रोड्यूस बाय कोरोना वायरस। तो एल्ब्यूटेरॉल और salbutamol is the mainstay of treatment. Then terbutaline, these are the two drugs which are in vogue. The most potent and the most effective drug is salbutamol, right? The salbutamol, the route of administration of salbutamol is always and always inhaled route, because whenever inhaled route of administration is applied, it is a topical local type of application where the drug directly attaches to the beta 2 receptors and cause bronchodilation. If you give systemically, when we were interns, then there was no inhaled corticosteroid, inhaled route in vogue. What happened? We used to give subcutaneous salbutamol. There was evidence of beta 2 agonist is there. It causes increased heart rate. There was increased heart rate, vertigo, patient was tachycardic. There were increased systemic side effects and minimal effect on airways. Now, with inhaled route of administration, you have got minimal agonism. Minimal agonism is there. Minimal side effects and adverse drug reactions and tachycardia is there, and maximum bronchodilation. What are the side effects of salbutamol? Tremors, because beta 2 receptors are present on the muscle fibers also, so there are tremors. आप लेके देखिए कभी भी नेबुलाइज कराइए एस्थेटिक्स अपने आप को, you will see tremors. Heart rate will increase. So these are the usual symptoms which are abolished by giving inhaled route of administration. After this class, I'll have a practical demonstration of. I'll take a practical demonstration of inhaled route of administration and how it will be done. I'll take online. Okay. So SABA is the mainstay of treatment, inhaled corticosteroids. Then A is SABA, B is phosphodiesterase inhibitors like caffeine and theophylline, aminophylline. These are phosphodiesterase inhibitors. They decrease the cyclic AMP formation, cause bronchodilation, but a big but is there. They are not available as inhaled route administration. They are always available in systemic route administration. So systemic route administration, basically what happens in systemic route administration? Increase adverse drug reactions. So these drugs, phosphodiesterase inhibitors, basically they are known basically as theophylline, aminophylline. These basically cause CNS toxicity. बहुत सारे बच्चों में कन्वर्जन आने शुरू हो जाते हैं, बच्चे टैकिकार्डिया डेवलप होना शुरू हो जाता है, कन्वर्जन आने शुरू हो जाते हैं, बिकम अनकॉन्शियस. So they have got a very low therapeutic window. Always remember this. They have got a very low therapeutic window and should not be used unless until the condition is it is more dangerous not to use than dangerous to use. Always remember this, right? So TT inhibitors, they can be harmful in extremes of ages. जितना छोटा बच्चा होगा, जितना बड़ा आदमी होगा, उसको CNS toxicity डेवलप होगी ही होगी. ये adults 50 years to 60 years it can be used, right? 30 years to 50 years it can be used judiciously. So bronchodilation is the treatment which is causing relief, immediate relief. इधर आपने दिया, लेकिन हमेशा ध्यान रखिएगा म्यूकोसोल एडिमा को क्लियर करना पहले बहुत जरूरी है बाय सिस्टमिक स्टेरॉइड्स, अदरवाइज यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू कंट्रोल रिलीफ, इमीडिएट रिलीफ, क्योंकि इनहेल्ड कॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड्स, इनहेल्ड ड्रग्स अंदर घुसेंगी ही नहीं म्यूकोसोल एडिमा की वजह से. इनहेलेशन आप करते रहिए, वो मिनिमल घुस पाएगी, बायोअवेलेबिलिटी विल बी वेरी लो. So always use systemic steroids, then you can use bronchodilation. So what is the treatment of status asthmaticus? Now after you have learned so far about asthma, now you are specialist, you are pulmonologist for asthma, so you must know about treatment of status asthmaticus, and you can also call it severe acute asthma. First May is World Asthma Day, 1st May. So before that you must be well versed with asthma. I told you the clinical features. Patient कैसे आएगा? Severe respiratory distress. He can be blue also. He can be having low saturations, he has tachypnea, respiratory rate for kids will be more than the age. जैसे अगर 1 साल का बच्चा है तो उसकी respiratory rate 40 होनी चाहिए मैक्सिमम, तो 60, 70, 80 at times 100, along with subcostal retractions, supraesternal retractions, alinasal working, and cyanosis or desaturations, right? इस तरह से, and whenever you keep this auscultate, you will see there are increased chest signs, crepitations as well as wheeze, ranging from level 1 wheeze to grade 4 wheeze. Which wheeze is more dangerous? Level 1 wheeze which is not audible, or wheeze which is audible? Yes. Wheeze which is not audible is more dangerous because it is more going into the inner airways. The inner airways if the patient is not having wheeze, or you can see that there is no vesicular sounds. The volume of sound is very minimal. That means you are dealing with a very brittle type of asthma, which is the patient prognosis is not very good. You have to आप अपर रेस्पिरेटरी, जितना अपर रेस्पिरेटरी आते जाएंगे, जितना ब्रोंकाई ऊपर होती जाएगी, उतना ही व्हीज जो है वो ऑडिबल होती जाएगी, और ऑडिबल व्हीज इज अ साइन ऑफ मेजर एयरवेज. माइनर एयरवेज में अगर प्रॉब्लम होगी द ब्रेथ साउंड्स विल बी डिमिनिश्ड, पेशेंट विल नो साउंड्स. दिस इज वेरी डेंजरस. So always remember this is a grave sign and a red flag sign that patient is very serious. हो सकता है, and at times you know that to ventilate these types of patient is also very tricky situation, because आप ventilation के लिए आपको अंदर एयर को भेजना जरूरी है. एयरवेज ब्लॉक है पूरे, आप एयर अंदर जा नहीं सकते. आप कितना भी प्रेशर बढ़ा लेते हैं, एयर अंदर जाएगी नहीं. एयर अंदर जाएगी नहीं तो आप वेंटिलेट कैसे करेंगे? दिस इज अ वेरी situation. You use BiPAP, when to use CPAP, when to use ventilators, and it is very tricky for intensivist. Okay, so severe acute asthma में patient आया. I told you the clinical features. You can note it down in your notebooks. Number 1 treatment is intravenous hydrocortisone. Intravenous hydrocortisone 100 to 200 milligrams. Primacort, Ascoril, बहुत तरह के आते हैं हाइड्रोकॉर्टिसोन. इंट्रावेनस हाइड्रोकॉर्टिसोन is most effective, most active, relieves the patient within minutes, 100 to 200 milligram, and to be treated every 6 hours. Number 2, inhaled salbutamol, right? 0.01 microgram inhaled. Adults में 50 to 100 micrograms. At times you have to give inhaled salbutamol. Check the doses in the books also. I may be wrong slightly for adult doses. So check the books doses in the books. Inhaled salbutamol sometimes has to be given as a continuous nebulization. Inhaled salbutamol is given by nebulization. Preferably by nebulization, but nowadays in corona days, COVID days, nebulization is also a very dangerous carrier for the virus. So nebulization is not a good thing to be done. You can use metered dose inhalers. I will tell you what are metered dose inhalers, what is nebulization. I will tell you later on. So metered dose inhalers or dry powder inhalers you can use. So inhaled salbutamol by nebulization continuously or 2 hourly to 4 hourly, right? Depending on the clinical situation. The third is antihistaminics. You can add or you may not. Antihistaminics is not the mainstay of treatment. Then fourth is mucolytics. I told you that mucolytics are very important because it causes mucus plugs inside, and mucus plugs can create obstruction, cause emphysema, can cause collapse. So the mainstay of treatment is rehydrate the patient more and more. There should be no dehydration. जितना rehydrate कर सकें, start intravenous fluids as fast as possible so that you can rehydrate the patient. Plus you add some mucolytics. You must have read in your pharma classes. Mucolytics, which are ethylcysteine, which can be given intravenously also, and ambroxol. Ambroxol can be given by oral administration, or in serious patients it can be given as nebulizers also. So ambroxol and ethylcysteine, they are the things which can cause mucolysis. So decrease mucosal edema, decrease bronchoconstriction, decrease tenacity of the sputum, and antihistaminics can be added. If there is problem with the upper respiratory tract, then you can add adrenaline, but it is not recommended routinely. So you better forget it also. Adrenaline. Adrenaline can be a mainstay of treatment in ICUs when you see that usual salbutamol is not working properly. Because adrenaline also causes decreased congestion. Alpha 1 receptors cause decreased secretions. So secretions are also decreased. When you see that there is increased secretions in the upper respiratory tract, you can add adrenaline nebulization also. So this finishes with your asthma, how to manage asthma. Then read GINA guidelines. GINA guidelines tell you that in all stages, mild, intermittent, or mild persistent, you have to add inhaled corticosteroids as soon as possible. Previously, it was told that mild intermittent, you can give only Montelukast along with Montelukast as preventer and levocetirizine as reliever. Montelukast as preventer, as levocetirizine or antihistaminics as reliever. So they can be a good choice for allergic rhinitis, atopic march, everything. But in mild intermittent asthma, when he has developed symptoms of cough, congestion, then whether it is mild intermittent or mild persistent, add ICS, inhaled corticosteroids, right? Then in moderate persistent, you have to add LAVA, 2 inhaled corticosteroids, and in severe, you have to add systemic steroids, right? So mild cases of allergic rhinitis and atopic march, add montelukast, which is leukotriene inhibitor, levocetirizine as reliever. Then in mild intermittent asthma and mild persistent asthma, add inhaled corticosteroids. Then moderate persistent asthma, you add LAVA along with inhaled corticosteroids. And in severe asthma, add systemic steroids for a duration which can be given, right? So in brief, you get a bird's eye view or a systemic approach how to cure asthma, right? Then later on, I'll be having a practical demonstration of how to give inhaled drugs, inhaled respiratory drugs, which are as aerosols. So we will be dealing with aerosols shortly, but you prepare with all the asthma things along with this lecture. Thank you. Bye.